What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're back with the DNA test results. I told y'all a few months ago in the video with Carmen, we collected the DNA. Now it's time to go over all the awesome stuff that we found out. And Carmen, I didn't know it was this detailed. This is so much. I mean, you think about all the different manuals you got the fit manual, you got the brain manual, you got the diet, you got the health. What else we got?
Well, those are the main four that we really focus
Yeah.
on. We do also provide a really good summary report of all these reports. So I think that there's about 200, maybe 30 pages of information. So you can look at it at a bird's eye view with very simple graphs, or you can dive deep as you want into these reports, showcasing your individual genes and what you have, and basically how to support your weak genes. So the idea behind us going over your report today is to understand your body's architecture and what can we do to support your genes that you were born with that aren't as strong as regular.
Right. And yeah, I've got
Yeah,
diet power pulled up for him first. If you want to kind of go through
sure.
this and kind of tell me where to navigate. We've got 74 pages on this manual, guys. So you're definitely getting your money's worth. Link down below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. You're going to see a lot more content. Me and Carmen, link down below. You can get your DNA test for 350 bucks with my discount. And I'm sure Carmen would love to go over this with you. So let's start them out with the diet power here.
Sure. So why don't you pull up your report, Bartley, and
Okay.
show everybody what your summary page looks like. So it's
Okay.
on page 4.
Summary page. Okay.
Yeah.
Now look at that, guys. We've got a bunch of good topics here going over carbs, insulin, cholesterol, how your body processes fat, protein need. Um, yeah, Carmen, go ahead and tell them what it means to have something green, what it means to have something red, and kind of walk us through the process here.
Sure. So the bar graph indicates several different genes that we're snipping for you. It's called a gene sequence. And we're able to see individual genes in this tested area of carbohydrates, for example. So we snipped a bunch of different genes and we came out with this result for you. Green meaning all the genes that you're born with good with, meaning both mom and dad passed you good working copies of those genes. And red indicates genes that you were born with that were non-functional. We call those mutated genes. And those are the ones that we really want to pay attention to so that we can understand for, in your case, carbohydrates aren't the best thing for you. So carbohydrates are going to cause you more body inflammation, and it's going to be harder for you to manage your carbohydrates. So create like water weight, and you're just not going to get the energy out of carbohydrates
Right.
that somebody else would get eating a grain of rice. Let's use a silly example. You eat a grain of rice, somebody who is 100% green there eats a grain of rice, they're going to get that full value of caloric energy from that grain of rice, whereas your body is going to be struggling with how to get energy out of that piece of rice. And that's why it's so important to understand this, because especially for us in the fitness industry and athletic backgrounds, is to say, what do we really eat to fuel our bodies to get the maximum amount of energy and injury prevention and long-term results, health, and also longevity in our chosen careers. And in your case, like, I think you might have known this already because you did tell me that you think carbs are
Right.
kind of bad, and this just confirmed it for
Right.
you. Like, all
Yeah.
those years of questioning it.
Right. Right. Well, this is one of those that, I felt like I was a little bit more in tune with my body just because I'd see what my body looked like, and, not processing carbohydrates, perfect. Yeah, you're going to get a little inflammation response. And I think I could notice that versus when I fat loaded before a show, how good and how full I felt. You know what I mean?
Well,
No
interesting enough,
stress.
unsaturated fats are perfectly fine for you. So you're a good candidate to take in unsaturated fats. But here's the flip side: saturated fats aren't as good for you. So the healthy fats are great for you. I would still recommend you staying away from the saturated fats for your
Okay.
goals and your long-term health. And then another, important area here is the insulin area. Is how does your body regulate insulin? And for you, this becomes more of a case of, how many meals should I be eating? Should I be skipping meals? Should I be fasting? Should I be doing that diet that's one meal a day? And in your case, absolutely not. You
Yes, I
know
don't
now.
have to fast
Yeah.
anymore.
I mean, with
Hey,
your
listen,
the
that
way
with the
you eat,
competitive eating,
yeah.
I think, it's good to see this on paper, but I tell you what, after the 8-pound biscuit and gravy challenge, I had to take about, 12, 16 hours off of eating after that one last week.
Yeah. Okay. That's like called epigenetics. you know, you know, this, us at the lab don't know that you're an eating professional, for example,
Right.
but this is purely for, how to support you and your genes. And I mean, ultimately you should be in a normal life, you should be eating more frequent, not questioning the whole fasting thing, eating smaller meals and eating a higher protein diet. For bodybuilding, for your case, you'll actually gain a good amount of size from protein. So you're going to, if you ever really wanted to lean down and really trim down, you would actually probably have to lower your protein in a sense, but eat it more frequently, more digestible protein. So you have an interesting setup here because the saturated fats, let's talk about the health side of things.
Okay.
Those are going to cause you body stress and they're going to cause you inflammatory. So, for example, like knowing that it's just going to cause havoc on your body. So, why eat them?
Right.
You may still be able to eat like you do as an eating professional and actually look pretty good in the mirror. But like when I see your DNA like this, it's just like one of those things that, like, why put like a different type of fuel in your body that it's not going to respond and get a
Right.
good amount of energy from?
So, so looking at this, I saw the 100% red on protein and I got freaked out. Remember, before we did this, I'm like, hey, I hope it just don't say I can't eat high protein because that's my favorite thing to do in the world.
Yeah,
So,
well, you
so,
are. Yeah.
so what does this 100% red mean for protein need?
Okay, so I want to show you to navigate through your report. So I want you to
Okay.
hold your cursor on the right-hand side, go to page, that little 19 on the side of protein need.
Where at?
So on the sum where you just were on page
Okay.
4,
Okay.
right beside
Right
protein
here.
need. Yeah,
Okay.
hover your cursor over it and
Yeah.
click page 19. Just go click.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, it will take you right to the whole page.
Oh,
Is
perfect.
it working? Yeah,
Perfect.
there we go. So there's your protein need. So it's going to like showcase some of the genes we're testing, your results on the top right hand side again, and then some tips to overcome that. So basically, it's saying, hey, you need to eat more protein. You need to eat more frequent amounts of protein to support your body.
Okay. So it breaks it down here in the report, guys. So that's I didn't get this far when I first got it. I just went straight to the summary. I want to see everything as fast as I could, and try
Yeah.
to figure it out myself. But, so it comes with this manual when you get your DNA tested for $350, guys. It's the best deal. Yeah, I mean, people are selling this 3 times amount. And I trust Carmen and in DNA Power, and they're all great people. They'll take your samples. They'll be secured. Nothing's going to be leaked anywhere on the internet. The only thing that's going to be leaked today is a couple of my genes here, but I just want to show y'all, you know, kind of what you're getting in these reports. It's crazy, and Carmen also does the coaching for this too. So she's trying to talk me into it, but I've got to take your course, Carmen.
Yeah, I think you should, because it's going to give you more insight to why it's so critical that everybody needs to know their DNA. Like, it's so
Right.
important for every baby, every baba, every bodybuilder, every single person should know what is going to support their body. And I say this all the time, but food and vitamins are so powerful to creating longevity for us and preventing disease. And normally we're living in such a reactive society still. We don't go to the doctor to get a vitamin or a prescription until something's wrong. And DNA is something, it really is a preventative tool to use. So we can't diagnose anybody with anything. We're not going to be able to say when you're going to die or what disease you have. But what this does is show you how you can live your life proactively and prevent disease by turning on your DNA through simple solutions like what you're eating, what vitamins you're taking, how you're training. And that's the thing is you're already buying food. So don't, like maybe you don't need to buy this much food, you buy this food instead. So it's what everybody's already doing. You're already taking vitamins. So knowing and being able to strategically say and target what vitamins are actually going to help me prevent disease, this is a whole new thing. I mean, we've been doing this for 20 years, but it's new to society today. And people don't realize that when they're walking into a vitamin store, for example, they're looking at the wall saying, I don't know what to take.
Right.
When this gives you a very helpful guide. Like, for example, I was saying earlier that you probably knew that your body did not respond to carbs that well because of your athletic background and how dedicated you've been to fitness for so long. I mean, most people aren't dedicated like you are to know that. But now, in your case, this actually confirms it for you. And you don't have to ever guess that again because your DNA is never going to change. All we can do is support your genes to function better.
Right.
And this is why it's so critical for everybody to do this, even outside of the fitness industry. And I will say, I know I talked to you and your fiance
Right.
about when you guys have babies, you and her being on your DNA more designed health programs are really going to encourage you guys passing a better side of the DNA to the baby just by simple things of like what you're eating and what vitamins
Right.
you're taking and how you're in your life. So here we are,
Can't,
like this is it.
yeah, you can't put a price tag on that. You know what I mean? And you're talking about
Mhm.
your kid's future. I mean, that's next level reasoning why to get this DNA test done. So I've got some
Yeah.
vitamins and supplements pulled up right here. Can we
Okay.
hit those real
Well,
quick and
here,
maybe
go back just a page. I want to point out some of the things that we cover are things like caffeine,
oh
gluten,
yeah.
lactose, alcohol, salt. Like a lot of people don't know, like, should I have a low salt diet or a high salt diet? How is it really affecting my health? Is lactose okay for me, even though maybe somebody's not having like lactose, I guess, negative results happening? Their body still may be like yours. Like lactose
Right.
is not the best thing for you. So here, it shows you some preferences and how your brain perceives food to be food. And then we get into where you just were into the vitamin area. And for sure. So right away, wherever it's more red, okay, I need to supplement these vitamins in these areas because
Okay.
like
Okay.
I'm bored.
So
So
so I got a vitamin infusion today and I had some B6. So now I'm looking on my thing here, how well you process vitamin B6 for macronutrient metabolism. 100% red. So that means don't take B6, right?
no, wherever it says red, that means you need more of that.
Oh,
So
you need
you
more.
did the
So
right
it's
thing
like
today.
depleted. So it's like 100%
Yeah,
depleted.
that's right. So it
Interesting.
like
Okay.
if you want to, Bartley, there's so much information here. So we're gonna have to have more conversation about
Right.
this. All you do is click on the page 44. It takes you right to that page and it says, okay, Bartley, you gotta do this. This is how we're gonna support your B6 area. So it says right away, make sure you're supporting by taking special biofolate in a methylated form. And then it
Okay.
also goes over some foods that have B6 in it. So maybe you would make more of those food choices, for example.
Okay. Definitely. Let me
And get that. Oh, when you read up on this, it will say really good things. Like it teaches you a lot about why is B6 so important. And it's involved in many aspects, for example, with micronutrient metabolism, neurotransmitter synthesis, histamine, and it goes on and on about a whole bunch of stuff. So, I mean, I'm a total nerd about DNA. So I
yeah.
get excited about seeing and understanding what every single gene and area does. But I find the reports are so beneficial for somebody that's actually wanting to learn and understand more about different nutrients and vitamins and themselves. This is an amazing report to have done.
So is there any way to improve? Uh, I guess you can slightly improve a gene function by catering to its need, right? Or no? Or
You
is it
bet. It's kind of like this.
that's
Yes, you bet.
that's like the final answer, right?
No, yeah, that is the answer. You can't change your DNA, your
Right.
baseline.
Right.
But what you can do is supplement it. Like, for example, let's use a silly example. Like, let's say we're driving down the road and there's potholes in the road, and our car is like going over these potholes all the time. What we would do is, like, we'd say, hey, these potholes need to be filled in. And
Right.
that's really what we're doing, is filling in the weak areas so we can smoothly drive over that road. And that's why it's so important that, like, a vitamin really can change your life. And I can't stress it enough. Like, the methylation area is phenomenally exciting for you
Oh
and
yeah.
for people. That is what helps to turn on gene function. Like, for you taking biofolate, and, like, we're going to get it, after this call, we're going to go over your details in a really clearly,
Well,
so that, I can give you some more insight. But, like, there's things in here that I believe are life changing and life saving for people, without a doubt.
hey, look at this sugar craving. 100% green. So what does that mean?
Okay, good question. So that
Hey,
means
hey,
that
the
you shouldn't.
raccoon wants to know. The raccoon, he gets out every night for about an hour and a half and tends to have a couple sugar cravings. So what are we supposed to do about that?
Okay, so I can help you understand this. So
Okay.
your sugar craving gene is actually normal. It means you shouldn't be craving sugar as much as you are. So what this is telling me when we talk is, it's saying you're not getting the right insulin response. So I believe that's where the problem lies, is in that insulin area that we've been talking about, is how to manage the insulin response and regulation to get the sugar cravings to go down.
That makes sense because you said the best remedy for that was more frequent meals, which if you're keeping your blood sugar normal, then you're not going to want to get this craving out of nowhere when it's bottomed out, right?
You bet. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Interesting.
so it's so interesting. I get so excited to read these reports with everybody, and especially yours. I was really excited to see. Well, if you could keep eating all the meat.
Yes, I get to eat all the
So
meat
excited.
and but to be honest with you, you know, I probably got a little extra sugar craving from just staying lean and staying hungry all year. You know what I mean? It's not I I've got very good discipline, when it's time to look a certain way for a certain thing, I always make it happen. Praise the Lord for good health.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into these. Look at this, guys. We got a salt taste and a sweet taste. So I'm 50-50 on those. So does that mean I've got, you know, a bad gene from a parent and a good gene from a parent?
Well, from this bar graph, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly until we went to the very back of your booklet,
Okay.
where we can see the tested area, and I would be able to see exactly what your mom and dad gave you.
Is that right
So
here?
it's at the very back. There it is. Yeah, it's at the um, your genetic profile. It's called.
Okay. Which one are we looking for here?
Well, let's go
This
down
has
to.
got everything, guys. I don't know if y'all can see this at home. I think I'm doing screen share right, but this basically tells you uh what's good, moderate, and poor. And if it's poor, that means it's pretty much not working, right?
Yeah, that means that both mom and dad passed you a non-functional copy of that gene when they conceived you. So, you know for sure, without a
Right.
doubt, that both your parents were carrying a mutated copy. They might have been both poor, poor, and poor, poor. We don't know their DNA, but what we do know is that both mom and dad for sure passed you a poor, non-functional copy of that gene, and we call it a mutated gene.
Hmm.
So, from birth, if we knew these things, we would be able to navigate ourselves a little bit even better.
Right.
And with your DNA. So what this means is you may not taste salt. So this is all about taste preference. It's how does your brain perceive food to be food? So it helps people with eating disorders, or people that are wondering why they're craving certain things, or people that are maybe doing the intuitive eating diet.
Right.
I mean, in some cases, that would be the worst diet for somebody to do because their brain would be getting different signals of their intuitiveness.
Right.
You know, they might be craving way more fats than they should, for example.
Right.
In your case, let's look at salt taste. So salt taste means when it's red like that, is that your perception of salt is not to be normal. So the tendency, the risk factor is just you might oversalt your food or you might really undersalt it because you just don't perceive the salt to be as normal.
Okay. Where's that at? Right here.
Yeah.
So, so I need to lower salt based on that?
Well, not based on this. Actually, just above that barley, we actually test your metabolism of salt. And
Here's salt.
so I'm on page 70.
Okay.
If you go, yeah, and you're going to see salt right above sugar craving. And there we're showcasing a poor gene and a moderate gene, which means that, yeah, you do need a lower salt diet in general.
Well,
So,
that's what my dad's on
yeah.
for blood pressure. So that makes sense for, that's something hereditary there.
Well, and you live in a very hot climate. So I will say it's
Okay.
very hard for somebody like me in Canada to say, hey, Barley, you should eat this much salt per day. Like
Right.
saying that is kind of because you're sweating way more, you're way more hot, you're like drinking more water. So it really depends on kind of where you live and how active you are to how much water and salt you need. But for the overall baseline, like I guess one time saying would be barley needs a lower salt type of diet.
Yeah. See that
And
that
then you
one's
would have
that
to
one's
adjust that based on.
see that one's a little confusing for me because it's just like you said. I'm in a hotter climate. I sweat like a son of a gun every day. So I've got to take into
Yeah,
consideration the replenishment of those electrolytes, but also, hey, maybe not overdo it, you know?
exactly my point. Yeah, that is 100% accurate. And I think some of the things you can watch out for are like cramping or like the color, like of your
Right.
urine and things like that.
Right.
Um, those are the things that I would say, like right away, if you're starting to have muscle cramps, right away you're not getting enough water and salt in your diet. I mean, the same goes for football players. Like I worked with some football players in Canada and some in Texas. So it just depends. Like, down there,
Right.
you're pretty much giving them salt and water, and up here, you're taking it away. So that's a really interesting area to work with because it really is based on where you are and what you're doing, how much activity you're doing.
Hey, this increased fat consumption risk one is poor. What can you tell me about that one? Anytime you see
Which
increased
one are you
fat risk, it gets your attention.
on?
Yeah,
So what
I'm on
that one
page
means is that,
71.
um, yeah, so what this is suggesting, so always keep in mind that I can't diagnose you or say that this is how you are. So your DNA is the risk to or the predisposition to.
Right.
So in this case, I would say, okay, Bartley, you have a higher risk to craving more fats. So your body might say, I need more fats. I need more, like, I don't know, chicken with skin on it or something, or fatty meats.
Hey, I love
Because your brain,
pistachios.
yeah.
I ate about a whole bag of 1 pound bag of pistachios the other night. So that that copies.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I used to eat a jar of peanut butter, a night. And I
Oh
had to
my
slow
goodness.
that down a little bit since I've got a little older here. I can't do cardio all day to make up for that, but I do love
Yeah.
fats.
Okay, so how big was the peanut butter jar?
Well, it's about a 16 ouncer, I reckon. So a pound of peanut butter.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Hey,
that's why you're an eating professional.
well, yeah, yeah, I'm quite the anomaly. Let's see. Do you want to is there anything else you want to look at in diet power before?
There's basically you're showcasing everything here.
Yeah.
We went through everything, so you know what it means. I think we should go into your health power because there was a few things in there that I thought would be really helpful for what your goals are right now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you basically, the one that pops out here the most is the ability to control inflammation.
Mm,
So your body naturally has a hard time getting rid of inflammatory at a cellular structure area. So we really want to, try to not let the body get super inflamed at the beginning, but then of course support it to help mitigate the inflammatory control. So that would be something that we want to talk about. Like, what product is that? What product is the best product in the world to help mitigate inflammatory of the body?
okay.
And that's something that would be a staple for you. Like, that's one that you would pick and say, okay, this is one I'm going to be on for a long time.
What page are we on here?
So I'm on page 5 of 43.
Okay. I'm there.
And at the very top, yeah, you're going to see inflammatory there. Yeah, I can see it on your screen now.
Okay.
So um, that area is like important to pay attention to and say, how can we get the body inflammation to be more at ease? How can we
Mm,
mitigate that body inflammation? So we're
okay.
training hard, eating a lot, there's all these things we're doing, so that's why we really highly suggest a really good support in that area for you.
What do you recommend?
Well, there's that one that we have talked about it before, the Perova, the one from
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
And that one is by far the most interesting supplement I've ever seen
Mhm.
when it comes to inflammatory control. And that one seems to be doing a really good job at supporting the body at several areas of inflammatory, not just one or two.
Okay. All right. I'll definitely look into getting some more of that. Um,
Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about your goal right now. Let's say, okay, so you're eating all this food, you're doing all this stuff. If you feel like you're getting inflamed from like these eating events you do, I feel like that would help you to get back on track faster and to like
right.
get your body like stressed.
Right.
So, but I would, it'd be a really cool test for you to do and see if you can really feel a difference or not on something like that.
Um, what do you think about just general stuff that you hear that is supposed to benefit the inflammation response? Like maybe some people say glutathione, it's the world's most powerful antioxidant, and it can, you know, help detoxify regenerate your liver. And, when I hear all that stuff, I think lower inflammation response. Have you heard anything like that as far as other things?
Yes,
You hear
um,
turmeric all the
I
time.
true, true
Yeah.
enough. Something, and yes, it would help, but those things, like, let's say there's like a cell like this, there's several areas of the cell that have different inflammatory cursors, markers. And whereas if you have like one that's more of a multi type of helper, you're gonna get way more benefit out of that by taking, say, one product like
Right.
Perova,
Right.
whereas something else you might have to take like 3 or 4 different things to try to like to get it all under
Right.
control.
Right.
When it comes to glutathione, I think glutathione is fantastic, but it's not quite like the inflammatory control that I'm thinking of for you.
Okay. Uh,
Beneficial with detoxification and all of that stuff, yes. But I would definitely look at what is, and again, just because we don't know today something like what is the strongest natural anti-inflammatory ever, in the future, that's something that you would really want to pay attention to, whether it's like now in 10 years or 30 years down the road, they find something, they invent something, and
mhm.
that's what you'd want to pay attention to. That would ring a bell for you and say, okay, I got to look at that because I know my body naturally doesn't mitigate inflammatory properly.
Yeah, there's so many awesome things on here. I've got the page pulled up now where we're looking at the different methylations. We talked before about Noel having the MTHFR mutation. So mine's a little bit better here, it looks like.
It
It's
is, but you still have one. You still are carrying one variant.
okay.
So, like, what that means is you just need to take a good methylated folate. It's
Okay.
called biofolate or methylfolate.
Okay.
Usually, you can put in advanced B complexes in a methylated form.
Okay.
And what methylation really is you can think of methylation almost like the fuse box of your household. So it helps to control your whole household, meaning your body,
Right.
helping to turn on, regulate other genes, and it does so much. Methylation is a very interesting area because ultimately what it's doing, it's basically like how does your body methylate means how does your body really take the nutrients out of food and turn it into energy? How does it use it? How does it help
Yeah.
to get the nutrients where it needs to go? So when you're actually quite good for your age, for the type of people like reports I'm reading at your age, people are really heavily mutated here. And that's
Really.
where people are a lot of problems. Yeah.
Hmm.
So when I saw yours, I was so happy for you because I'm like, okay, he's got a really good gene set. So like,
Awesome.
you having a better methylation area is a huge bonus for you.
Well, that's good news, guys. That's good
Yeah.
news.
And okay, so there's the other ones here, the hormonal regulation. So that one's really interesting, as well, the detoxification. But your hormone area is interesting to look at because you can see how well your body gets rid of estrogen, how it manages estrogen, how your body changes androgens to estrogen conversion, testosterone to DHT, androgen breakdown. It goes into your overall hormonal production. So you will be able to see that individually at the back of your report so that you can kind of have some insight as to how you're hormonally
Yeah.
designed. Yeah.
That's huge. In a world full of TRT and everything else now, people are getting a little bit more involved with checking their hormones and balancing those hormones because when those hormones get out of whack, that's when you get out of whack. you know, I know when my estrogen's a little bit too high. And
Yeah.
it's good to be able to look at these. So in summary of this biosynthesis of androgens and estrogens, it says how effectively your body regulates sex steroids, androgen, and estrogen. So I'm showing 37% green, 63% red. So break that down for me.
Yeah. So what we look at is several different genes in that area. We look at your overall hormonal production, so how you make hormone. We also look at the androgen to estrogen conversion. We look at the DHT conversion as well. So, for example, I'm in the back of your book right now, so I can see
Hmm.
what areas are moderate and poor. So, what this really is saying is that, for example, your body doesn't take testosterone and convert it to DHT as normal. It's poor in that area.
Okay, yeah, I've got it pulled up here. Um, so poor testosterone to DHT. That's
Mhm.
interesting. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. Androgen breakdown is poor. What does that mean?
So it's a bit, well, it's how your body breaks down the androgens.
So it's hard to.
It's hard to, yeah. So
Right.
in a sense, for example, let's use a case scenario here. So your body doesn't break down testosterone to DHT as easy. So it's going to cause the body a lot more stress to do that, and you're not going to get the same results as somebody, say, who was good here. So you can make a different calculated choice knowing
Mhm.
that. And also knowing that your body doesn't break down the estrogens as good, then okay, what can I do naturally to mitigate more estrogen, floating
Right.
around the body? How can I help the body to rid of these estrogen metabolites? So simple things like more endo-3 carbinol, like that's a carbonyl that attaches to the estrogen metabolite. Not wearing antiperspirant would even help because you're allowing the body to sweat out the estrogen
Right.
metabolites. Not eating certain foods like saturated fats, for example, not eating a bunch of carbs, because those things are going to raise these things that we don't want in the first place and then having to
Right.
manage it to get it out.
That's
So,
crazy.
like with
It's crazy, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, it really is. And it doesn't make it any easier. Even though
Right.
we know this now, you still have to put the time in.
Right.
You still have to do something around this. You still have to be as committed, all of those things. But for somebody who's looking for the least pathway of resistance and to be healthier, these reports are very, very beneficial. And you can, yeah, you can make a calculated choice on what things you're going to do, because you know this is your body's architecture.
Yeah, that's it all blows my mind how much information's in here, and it's a one-time fee to know about the rest of your life, So if you're trying to decide, is this worth it or not? I mean, I, I find it hard to not invest that amount of money into yourself to like really know what's good and what's bad for you, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. I wanted to point out something here that
Okay.
you have that's a so you're very good in this area. I'm looking at the detoxification area. It's called your COMT pathway or your COMT gene. It's on page 14.
This in health.
It is, yeah.
Okay. Me.
So this is about, it's a methylation gene. And really, it's a very important area for brain health. So a lot of people, so you have 100% normal, which means you have a really good brain detoxification in a sense.
That's good.
This is an area though that I'm seeing in the fitness world that I see a lot of people struggling with that could easily find out what the answers are to depression, bipolar, insomnia, eating disorders, even schizophrenia, OCD, ADHD. All of these things run on this pathway. And a lot of times it's very, very food related. So, like I say, I think you've got such a good mindset. And I would guess that you had 100% normal here because you have such a great mindset, Bartley, and
Mm.
that your genetics are just, backing that up. But for somebody who may be red here, um, which I do see quite often, it's such an easy fix for people with anxiety and people with mental health issues, depression, just to understand how they should be eating and what they should be, what vitamins would really support their COMT
Right.
pathway before they go on an antidepressant, for example, or
Right.
before they're really severely feeling.
So,
So, you know, like I say, it's just wonderful information to know ahead of time before we have a problem.
I think it would make sense. So tell me what you think, but with all the kids going on all the different medications these days, don't you think that, you know, maybe some parents would need to check if they wanted to be certain about doing the best thing for their kid? I mean, I think it would make
Without,
sense to check these things out before you start, you know, pouring seed in the wrong field.
yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And I think the issue is that people just don't know that this type of information exists. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm so thankful that you're helping to share it and to get it out there, because a lot of people are looking for answers. They just don't know where to go.
Right.
And I promise everybody watching this show that it is so important to understand their own chemistry before picking a drug, before picking your diet, before picking your exercise programs. All of these things are so important to understand, especially when it comes to the brain. And I mean, I I've been falling off my chair here with 10, 12, 11-year-old kids coming in on antidepressants already. And I'm just blown away by it because it can so be much more controlled and supported with a proper diet and the proper
Right.
vitamins. And then if that stuff absolutely doesn't work, then let's look at what is the best choice of drug for this person.
Well, if you think about it, they're getting shoved Pop Tarts to eat in the morning, and shout out Pop Tarts. I love Pop Tarts, but if you've got a folate problem, and you're taking in that enriched flour, that's really you're gonna see some side effects to doing something your body can't methylate properly.
Without a doubt. And the younger generation, I am seeing, because I read so many of these reports every day, the younger and younger generations, as we go along, are getting more and more mutated, more red, more at risk. So they're going to need way more support than, say, our grandma and grandpa. And so, you have grandma and grandpa saying, "Oh, wow, we didn't do all that stuff." But
You're right.
I'm saying, "Hey, grandma and grandpa, you guys also had a way better deck of cards, meaning their gene set to naturally be able to overcome these things, whereas the kids today are being born with quite a few areas of concern.
Well, on top of that, the food's changing. You know,
Exactly.
you,
Yeah.
you know, it was more whole food sources back in the day. Now we've got just made up stuff with different chemicals that, not every kid's going to be able to, detoxify properly.
Well, exactly. So what you're basically saying is it's nature, meaning your gene set, and
Right.
nurture, meaning what kinds
Right.
of foods and everything else we're eating. So yeah, it's very important um, to just try to do the best we can for our health. And this is the first step that everybody should be taking. Blood work is great, scans are great, but DNA is first. So when you know your DNA, you can kind of understand your setup. Whereas blood work is a diagnostic tool. It says exactly
Right.
what is going on in your body today. So don't wait for the blood work to show a problem. Like we don't,
Right.
why, if we can prevent something from happening, why wait 40 years before like, oh shoot, our
Yeah.
blood work showing something. Now we got to try to like react to this
Right. Right.
result.
Right. There's so many outside stressors these days that, hey, it's good to get ahead of, some of these potential problems. You know, uh, I find it interesting right here. Inflammatory immune response, and it breaks down the different genes and what I'm lacking in. But also at the bottom, it gives you tips to take power over your health. So, you know, this is a pretty good suggestion here is the vitamin C and D. And that's something that I try to do weekly or daily. It depends. I've kind of been mega dosing my vitamin D. Have you ever heard of that? Like doing it once a week?
Yes, I have, but I think it's good to just keep it consistent for you
Okay.
because you need to support your genes more on a daily
Well,
basis.
perfect. Perfect.
But you don't need a super high amount of vitamin D. You need like a little bit higher than normal for sure. But
10,
it's
5 or
more so.
10,000.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back actually to your where I see your vitamin D exactly into the diet power. I'm just gonna take a quick peek here.
Okay.
There it is. So because your vitamin D isn't really like terrible in your diet power report, you've got moderate. So when you get inflammation under control and that methylation, like the biofolate, it's actually going to help encourage your vitamin D to work. So in my mind, vitamin taking mega doses of vitamin D is almost like putting a band-aid on top of the root cause problem. So the root
Right.
cause problem really isn't vitamin D. It's yes, a normal amount of vitamin D is very, very good for you, maybe a little bit extra because of how much you're metabolizing, because how hard you're working, how hard you're training. Yeah, your type of body is like a machine. It's going to need a little bit more than the average person who's at an office desk not exercising.
Right.
But more so, you focus on the things we talked about in the methylation area, in your inflammatory control, and some of those underlying causes. These genes are almost dang near perfect for you.
Mm.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you, Mom
spending
and
your money
Dad. Thank you,
isn't
Mom and
where you
Dad.
want to. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing though. At least you know now, okay, maybe I don't want to spend all my effort, time, and money on vitamin D as much. I'll spend it
Right.
more on these other things
Right.
and give you a better result.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Let's hey guys, we appreciate y'all staying along here with us. We know this is a lot of reports to look at, but we're trying to help you all. We want to show you what you can do by getting this genetic test done and how you can live out the rest of your life, more optimally. So, I want to pull up this summary real quick.
Okay.
Uh, and I want to show these people because they're not going to believe this. This is unbelievable. All the things that are in this summary. Look, 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 guys. This is kind of what we already went over in some of the diet version. But when we jump down here, you can start looking at tendon health, ligament health. And I mean, some of that stuff makes a lot of sense to me because I've, I've had a few surgeries before.
Yeah. Well, one that I really think you'll find interesting is in your Fit Power. If you go down to energy metabolism, it's about three-quarters of the way down the
Okay.
page under.
I'm here.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here's an area, if you've ever wondered if you should have an intra-carb workout drink.
Okay.
Um,
Yes. Please tell me this.
yes, you should. So this is
Okay.
going to help. So, you having like half a scoop of intra-carbs and BCAAs, glutamine, and like an actual dextrose, like intra-carb thing, that
Wow.
is that you, because your body, what this talks about and teaches you, if you went into the other reports, it would give you a full page
Yeah.
explanation.
Yeah.
But this is all, how does your body get the energy it needs to while it's exercising? And so we want to support your body in that area. So rather than having a huge meal after training or your pre and post, your time to actually feed that body a little bit more with that right little concoction is while you're training. So
Interesting because
now,
I've,
yeah.
I've be honest with you. I come from the Dave Palumbo school of thought that, hey, listen, you're burning better body fat right now because your glucose is burning out and you're like dipping into the stored fat. So I've kind of been against it, but after seeing this, you can't argue with your genetics, So and to be honest with you, I'm glad that you said it's good for me because I haven't done it much. I can count on one hand how many times I've done it, probably, which is unbelievable. But I've never done it. I've ate big before and ate after. So you're saying if I can pump a little in intra workout here, I'm probably going to get some new gains.
Yeah, and keep me
Yes.
updated on that because I've been excited about that. I've worked with a few competitors actually, where we did that and they got amazing results. They felt better through their workouts. They had way more energy and they did get better results. So, that was one I felt like you would find interesting. Another one in here was your muscle repair. So it just showcases that you need a little bit more time for repair. So if you're overtraining, you're not going to get the results that maybe you're looking for. So you're the guy that has to make sure you're doing all the tricks and everything
Right.
to repair quicker for your body if you want to train that hard and fast. Um, and training warm, keeping your tendons warm. There's other things in here too, like the stroke risk. You just want to make sure that you're,
Yeah.
being careful.
Yeah.
Oxygen
Let's,
uptake
let's,
is another really big how you're training.
so tell me how a DNA test can come up with a stroke risk like this.
So we look at specific genes,
Okay.
and if you're born with the genes, it's a genetic factor. So you again having the lower the inflammation because under a stroke, normally it's inflammatory based. So we want to make sure we're like feeding the body correctly, not stressing the body, like not fasting, for example. We
Okay.
want your cortisol to stay nice and low and regulated. We don't want your body to be in high stress mode because if you are, it's going to make that risk even higher. So we
Mm,
want to try to like de-stress the body,
mm.
do more of what our bodies are more suited for, and then you probably will have no issues with this area whatsoever. So just because you have a risk doesn't
Right.
mean you're ever going to have, means
Hey,
that there's a
listen,
higher.
I was telling somebody about this report and, I was kind of running through, on my phone showing them, hey, it shows you this, it shows you this, it shows you this. And I was like, well, 50-50 stroke risk. I was like, well, say a prayer for me. I wear my CPAP every night. So that I'm doing my part, I feel like, to, to get oxygen and not,
Well, yeah, and I mean, a lot of this has to do with like again inflammatory control, but like this is where I would say the lower salt thing. So on a lower
yeah,
salt diet, making sure you're not salting the heck out of all your food, is
right.
going to be another thing that mitigate this type of risk.
Mm,
And another thing that pops out here is your oxygen uptake. So making sure your heart rate's coming down between your sets, for example. So you like training hardcore, like really fast and lots of sets, and keeping the heart rate up too high for too long probably isn't going to give you those muscle gains you're looking for.
interesting.
So yeah, so like that was another one I felt you would find interesting. And
Where was
if you
that
see,
again?
so that's under exercise performance area under oxygen uptake.
What page is it?
But
Oh, right here. Okay.
yeah, basically without oxygen or blood flow, the muscle's not going to go. So,
Right.
if you're doing a big back day or big leg day or glutes, those areas are going to take more time for your oxygen to get replenished. So
Right.
um, pay attention to your heart rate while you're training, and I think you will get more gains than what you're even getting. The other
Well,
interesting one,
yeah.
the blood sugar and and that goes to say again, another reason why I think we should try an intra-carb workout, because it's going to help to regulate your insulin and blood sugars better.
Mm. Okay. So while we're talking about blood sugar, it's a very intriguing topic for me because I take glucose disposal agents. So
Okay.
every high carb meal over 40 for the past probably 7 years, the past 7 years, I try to take my glucose disposal agent to help, uh, you know, prevent the blood sugar from spiking so high, because, when you have that excess uh, blood sugar, running in your system there, you're more likely to start storing as fat. So I've always tried to manage that. I've always checked my fasted glucose numbers, to make sure they're where I want to see them. Somewhere in the 80s is usually good for me.
Mhm.
If I did a crazy challenge, it's flirting with 100, if not over 100, so I try to limit that. But so based off this chart here, 75% green, 25% red on how physical activity affects my ability to regulate blood sugar.
Yeah.
So can you touch on that for a second?
Yes, I can. So this is about how exercise helps your body to regulate blood sugars.
Okay.
So if we were to very back of your booklet, which we're in the summary right now, so it's not going to show the individual genes. So I'm going to go over to the Fit Power, like the bigger booklet. So blood sugar and insulin, we're looking at, let's see here, 7 different genes.
What page
So we're
is that,
looking at
Carmen?
glucose.
I can pull it up here.
So there, page 33
Okay.
of Fit Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Very good. Yeah, so for the most part, you're poor at the bottom, which is insulin sensitivity response. You're good in the productive glucose utilization. There's a bunch of things here, right? So
Right.
um, this is what we're looking at and how we came up with that calculated bar graph for you to see that number.
Okay.
And what this is really saying is, how well does your body get glucose while you're training? And does your body need support in that area? And yes, it does. So your body does need support in getting energy while you're training,
Okay.
especially because I know how hard you train. This
Right.
is like a area for you to even take way more serious than say somebody
Mm.
that's not. But I will say that there's regular people that just do a ton of yard work, or they go on these big
Right.
long walks and bike rides, and they also would need support in something like this. Just because they're not like a super big bodybuilder, it doesn't mean that they don't need to be doing certain things as well. Exercise is exercise.
Right.
So
So I'm
yeah,
looking at a couple of a couple pores on cardiovascular system. So I'm actually going to a cardiologist here in a couple of weeks to get a stress test, just because the family history of cardiovascular issues. I want to be preventative on that as well. So definitely, after seeing these two pores, that's something that I want to keep an eye on. Going
mhm.
down the road, I think.
Absolutely. It's really good to get tested, like full body scans, and also to see the size of, say, your heart now and
Right.
in, say, 10 years. So
Right.
when you have a base, you're going to be able to um, understand more of what the difference is. If you don't do it now, then, in 20 years, you'll be like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know what my heart really was like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, I just had a echocardiogram a couple of weeks ago before I did one of my food tours. I was like, I want to go make sure everything's looking good, before I eat all these biscuits and gravy and tacos that I had lined up, but
Yeah.
everything looked good on there. So grateful for that. I just want to, cross all my T's and dot all my I's. That way, you know, we stay on top of something. Seeing a lot of people fall out these days. So I don't want that to be me or anybody watching this channel here. So make sure that you check out this DNA test and see if you can catch something before it happens. Hopefully you won't have to, but it's good to know your genetic makeup.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun. When we put
Right.
all this effort in what we should be eating, I mean, I think this
Right.
is fun too, because I mean, that's what we all, as kids, even, it was like, what should we be eating? How can we get bigger muscles? Do we
Oh
eat
my
more
goodness.
spinach, like pop, you know?
Yeah, we've been guinea pigging our whole life, it feels like. Now we actually have what we need to know about our bodies to make those educated decisions.
Mhm. Good.
Um,
Well, I'm super excited that you got this done, Bartley, and I'm excited to follow you and see how you implement everything. And I want to hear all about things, little things that change, big things that change. I want to hear all about it.
so give me a few little pointers here to leave with based off some of the information that you've seen. That way we can uh, let all the listeners know kind of, how we're approaching these DNA test results. Just to show them, hey, if they
Absolutely.
get
So
this test done, we can make some changes pretty fast.
yeah, so the things that pointed out, I made some notes here for you.
Okay.
Um, the diet, like more unsaturated fats, higher protein, more frequent meals, lower salt. As far as the vitamins go, I wrote down well, no lactose for sure for you, lower caffeine. But it's the B vitamins that are important in a methylated form for you.
Okay.
Kind of like anti-inflammatory vitamin like Perova.
Okay.
The he also came up, and those would be the ones that I think are really important to like start with right away. And then the intracarb workout too. I want to see how that affects your
Yes.
workouts and see if it can really help. And then track it. Like the big thing is to track it and see, okay, like, because it's so easy to forget. So, if you can keep a few notes and see how you're
Yeah.
feeling once you start a few of these things. Do you know where you could get like methylated B vitamins from? So, or do you have some
Well,
already?
I know that Noel gets them from somewhere, but is there a place that you recommend methylated vitamins?
Well, not necessarily in the United States. I'm in Canada, so we
Right.
have AOR on my website. I do have them, but I mean, it's probably we got to find something down there for you that's easier for you to get.
Okay.
I'll look for something that's
Okay.
nutraceutical like that. I
Okay.
mean, I work for a great nutraceutical company here in Canada. I wish it was in the United States, but they're
Well,
not.
we might need a branch on down here or something for too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I guess, yeah, those were the main, like, there were some good takeaways we got, like eating more, like for you, lowering the estrogen with I3C or endol-3 carbinol, which is in green leafy vegetables. Those are the big takeaways that I would really focus on, and really staying away from the saturated fats. So, not eating a ton of eggs, for example. Maybe a couple eggs are okay, but,
Well,
you know,
I
getting your
don't
body.
I don't eat as much as I used to. I think that was coming up as a young bodybuilder thing, cheap protein. I'd get 60 eggs boiled every weekend, and I'd bring them back to my little dorm room, put them in the fridge, and I'd be eating, six every morning. I did that for a while, but you know, uh, I love red meat, so I need to be careful with the red meat. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, but you got it. I would just
Yeah.
choose lean red meat. Like I know
Yeah.
it's expensive, but like, wild
Right.
meat would be really good for you too. Um, yeah, just what lean meat is. So
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So Derek Lunsford, Matt Grego, my training partners, you better watch out because I'm about to get on this intra workout drink and I already trained like a maniac. So it's definitely going to get crazy here for the Olympia prep. So I need to get Derek to get his, it's hard to beat number one in the world if number one gets better, you know.
Yeah.
So we got to get him on some DNA. He said he's interested, so we'll we'll get something figured out. And but yeah, guys, if you want your DNA tested, once again, link down below. You're going to get my discount. You're going to get everything we went over, $350, best deal around. Your DNA is going to be secure. It's going to be taken care of, and it's going to be interpreted through all these crazy reports that you get. We went over a few reports here tonight. You get the summary report. And if you want DNA coaching, that is a service that is also available. So if you got any questions, guys, let us know. If you got any questions, feel free to hit Carmen up. Carmen, what's your Instagram again? I'll put it in the link down below, but go ahead and let our audio listeners know.
So it's Karma Life. That's the name of the company. Well, my company, and DNA Diva. So Karma Life _ DNA Diva. And I'd be happy to talk with anyone about how learning about their DNA is a benefit. And
Yeah.
I really thank you for having me on the show and explaining some of this stuff, because I really am passionate about getting this information out to people, for
Right.
people that are. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to study about me, Uh, that's a lot. I mean, not many people want to study for themselves, let alone for somebody else. So I'm grateful for your knowledge, and you've always been so awesome about helping me and helping Noel, and we'll get Noel's here soon, sounds like. So it's going to be interesting to start putting these puzzle pieces together, because I know she loves me, so she'll start cooking some food that's good for me. She wants me to stick around long enough. So you better
Yeah.
cook me
Oh
something
no, it's
good.
so good. Yeah, really looking forward to reviewing her DNA with her. It should be here actually. So tomorrow, by tomorrow night or over the weekend, the reports should be
Oh,
generated for her.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let her know. Well, thanks, Carmen, and we'll get together soon, guys. Comment down below if you want to see more DNA talk, because we could talk for hours about this stuff, and we still need to talk about getting up to Canada. I've never been there, so we'll have to start scheming something here after the Olympia, maybe.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to
Yeah.
have you and Mel up here. It would be so much fun.
For sure, for sure. All right, well, sleep tight, Carmen. I know I got you here late, but it was awesome getting to talk with you and show everybody kind of what to expect if they get their DNA tested. I've never seen anything like this. Like I said, I saw you on RX Muscle a long time ago, and got in contact with you back then. So awesome to see how things are playing out, and excited to make some improvements and adapt some things that I might have not been doing right. That way we can optimize and work with the DNA instead of work against it. So,
Thank
all right,
you.
guys, until next
Okay.
time, signing out.
Bye.
Take care.